Hey guys, we are Sean and Christy. This is Long Long Honeymoon. Today we're going to tell you about a fantastic RV travel destination, Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park
in Colorado.
It's a bit of a mouthful. This became a national park in 1999, but I believe it was protected territory going back to the 1930s. And it's really just a spectacular, unique canyon that's not that easy to get to. I mean, to me, this is kind of a destination national park. It takes some effort to get up there.
Yeah, you're not really going to be just stopping by on your way somewhere else. You're going to have to make a little bit of effort to detour off those major interstates and highways to make it to this area, but I think it's well worth a visit for sure. It's a beautiful park. The views are spectacular. The campground that we stayed at was really nice. We had a beautiful site, but something you need to be aware of is that their campground doesn't have a lot of room for bigger RVs. Our camper, as you know, is 25 feet long, and I think if you were much longer than ours, you probably wouldn't fit into their campground.
We decided to go ahead and unhitch so we could explore the park a little more freely with our truck. You'll notice this site makes a good case for having a jack that can get low to the ground. I mean, we're extending the front of our trailer up about 6 inches or so off the ground, and that's because the site is on kind of a slope. So this makes us level, getting really low in the front. The sites here are nice, but this does prove the point that larger RVs have a more difficult time getting into national parks. We've seen a few larger rigs in here. There are a few larger fifth wheels, but I feel like our particular setup is pushing the limits of what you could bring in to this particular campground. It's pretty primitive camping here, no hookups to worry about. The sites are sort of pull through, but some of the pull-through sites we could not pull our rig through. It would just be too long.
And it was the South Rim campground, which is really the only campground I think you can take an RV to of any size. There's one other campground in the south portion of the park, but it's tents only. It's down a very long, windy road, and you can't be longer than 22 feet to go down that road.
Yeah, the campground at Black Canyon had 3 loops, A, B, and C. You can reserve in loops A and B. Loop C is sort of first come, first serve. All the loops look pretty similar in terms of the capacity for RVs, but as you see in this video, pretty tight spaces really. A lot of the spaces are pull through, but a much longer rig than ours, and you're not gonna have a site there.
One other thing to note is Loop B does offer electrical hookups, so it's a slightly more expensive campsite to rent for the night versus loops A and C.
So what do you do at Black Canyon National Park? Well, first of all, you have that sort of Chevy Chase vacation moment where you walk out to a scenic overlook and you stand there and go, okay, now I've seen it. But actually there are a number of scenic overlooks around the South Rim and the North Rim. So one of the obvious activities would be to drive from overlook to overlook. Now some of those overlooks are located close to the road, and some of those overlooks require a little bit of a hike out to the overlook.
Yeah, and something that you'll note is when you stop at each overlook, if you do have to walk further than just a few feet off the road, they'll have a sign that tells you how far out it is to get to the overlook, and it's usually in yards, so it'll be anywhere from 300 yards to 900 yards, just depending. Some of them even longer than that. So you can sort of look at that sign and determine if you want to make that walk or not. If you're somebody that has any sort of physical challenges, you'll know in advance if it's something you want to tackle or not.
Of course, there are other hiking trails where you can hike down into the canyon. Now, something you should be aware of, you're at a really high altitude when you're at this park.
It's a little over 8,000 feet in altitude. So you're gonna feel it.
The air is thin. We talked to one gentleman, Leroy from Texas, about his hike. He said he hiked down into the canyon and back up.
Straight down, straight up.
Wow.
There's no switchbacks. It's I think it's a 45 incline.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So is it 1.2 down and then 1.2 back up? Okay.
So that's the toughest hike you've
2.4?
done.
I've done in my life.
I believe it.
That
Yeah.
sounds-
The
I lost
altitude.
I lost my leg right here.
Oh wow.
Still painful.
Yeah, he said it was about a mile and a half or so, but it was at a 45% grade, I believe is what he said. And you actually have to apply for a permit to do that particular hike because it is so challenging, and they limit the number of people per day that they let do that hike.
So if you are an ambitious hiker,
Yeah.
it's a great destination from that standpoint. Or if you just want to go out and enjoy the different viewpoints around the rim of the canyon, it's definitely a unique canyon. First of all, just colors, I think, of the canyon, like the patterns in the stone, and also the width of the canyon. It's one of the more narrow canyons of its size.
Yeah, I think in some points they say that it's as narrow as 40 feet from wall to wall within the canyon. So that's what makes it really unique. It's a beautiful canyon. It is really a serious drop. And so if you're somebody that's scared of heights, I would say don't get too close to those gates around the edge of the lookouts, because you'll definitely feel that sort of vertigo feeling looking over the edge. That is a serious overlook. Like, you have to really trust this to lean on it, and I do not trust it.
And if you're a tent camper, the little campground that's down at the base of the access road by the river looks really nice.
Yeah, it was a beautiful campsite right by the river. If you're somebody who likes to fly fish, we saw many people out there fly fishing. So I think that would be a great campsite. If you are somebody that's in like a camper van, or you're just camping out of your car with a tent, that's a great option. I think it's the Portal Campground.
French toast a la Christie.
Yeah.
We really didn't have any cellular coverage in the campground, and so we were without internet pretty much for the time we were there. So if you're a
Yeah.
digital nomad, if you're working from your RV, it's just something to know getting in.
Yeah.
Check it out. Been a while since we've seen one of these.
They do have a pay phone at the campground, so if you had an emergency of some sort, there is a way for you to contact help. But don't plan on your cell phone working while you're there inside the park, at least not on the South Rim side of things. The North Rim side, you can't access from the same area as the South Rim, and I think it's definitely more remote and harder to get to. We did not visit the North Rim. I think it's about a 2-hour drive to get there from the South Rim, maybe a little bit longer. So if any of you have had experience on the North Rim side of things, let us know what you thought about it. Yeah.
I want to point out, for those of you who have larger RV rigs, maneuvering in and out of the campground, as we said, is quite difficult, but also those access roads have length limitations. Either end of the road has a length limitation, and even getting into the visitor center and out of the visitor center is not an easy proposition. So if you have a big rig, I really think you're probably better off.
Leaving it in a campground elsewhere.
Right.
And if you want options for where you can stay elsewhere, the town of Montrose, it's about a 25-minute drive from the park, so it's actually pretty close. And they have several RV parks there in town that offer sites for rigs of all sizes, so you can look into that. And then there's also a national recreation area about 30 minutes to the east of the park that offers, I think, maybe 4 campgrounds that have room for bigger rigs. And if you saw some of the posts we did on Instagram this week, we actually posted from one of those. The campground that we stayed at one night was called Stevens Creek, and I think you could probably fit any size RV there. Now granted, it is dry camping, but they do have potable water, and they do have bathhouses with toilets and sinks.
Yeah, if you have a larger RV rig, I think your best bet is probably one of those national recreation area campgrounds. I thought they were quite beautiful personally.
So this is the view from bed. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Now, they don't all have a dump station, and you may not find a dump station even up at the national park, but in Montrose, the city provides a free dump station over by the horse barn at the fairgrounds. So thank you, Montrose.
Yes, it was a very nice dump station actually. Potable water and dump stations, easy to maneuver in and out of, so we took advantage of that when we were in town.
I will say from a camping standpoint, I equally enjoyed the National Recreation Area Campground, Stevens Creek. I love the views at Stevens Creek. There's several large water reservoirs down there, and so you just have wide open views out to the horizon. There's not much development. You're not gonna get a whole lot of cellular service down there, but if you can live with that, I personally love that feeling of being out there. Okay, we're in Colorado right now in late September. This has been an ideal time of year to visit. Not only is this some of the prettiest land in North America any time of year, this time of year you get to see the autumn colors.
Yes.
And I have so much enjoyed just towing our rig around through these mountains in Colorado. I've just enjoyed the views so much.
Yeah.
And you know, there's something to be said for being off the grid,
Yes.
being off the internet, having no cellular service. Can actually be quite refreshing at times.
Yeah, it sort of encourages you to sit outside, take in the view, or just lounge on your couch, look out the window, read a book, you know, and sort of reconnect with yourself versus the world through the internet. So I don't think it's a bad thing to go a few days with no, you know, internet or cell service.
If you have an RV, Colorado needs to be high on your list of
Yes.
places to visit because just the diversity of terrain, obviously the mountains, but you have plains. Down south you have Mesa Verde National Park, which we've done videos about.
Yeah.
We went to Great Sand Dunes National Park just last week, now Black Canyon, and then there are a lot of protected federal land that aren't national parks that are equally as beautiful as the national parks. You'll drive through some areas and you'll say, why isn't this a national park? And who knows, it might be in the future.
Yeah, they have a lot of great national forest campgrounds here. Campendium is a great resource for those. You can read reviews from people, you can see pictures that people have posted, and sort of get an idea if a campsite is right for you and the size RV that you have.
So that's it, guys. This concludes yet another exhilarating episode of Long Long Honeymoon, the longest continuously running RV channel on the interwebs.
That's right, since 2006.
I've got the gray hair to prove it. To conclude, Colorado is awful this time of year. We recommend that you all stay away.
Yes.
Especially because a lot of these
Terrible.
campgrounds have been filling up. For the past couple of nights, we have been mooch docking, courtesy of some dear friends. So thank you, Mark and Paige.
Yes, we've enjoyed it so much.
Until next time, if you're new to our channel, subscribe. If you are an old friend, say hello when you see us on
Leave
the
a
road.
comment. Let us know where your favorite place to camp in Colorado is. We might need to stop there and see it for ourselves.
Tune in next week for more Low, Low Hope.
Hello.
They call me the water thief. So check this out, guys. This is called a water thief. And it is a rare situation when you need a water thief. But when you need one, it sure is nice to have one. We're at the dump station at Great Sand Dunes National Park, and they do have fresh potable water, but it's in an unthreaded hose. So the only way to attach our water hose to this hose is using the so-called water thief, although we're not stealing anything. So whoever designed the dump station at Great Sand Dunes National Park, rethink things, please.
This tool allows you to connect threaded water hoses to unthreaded water sources.
We got it.
If you need one, you guessed it, check out the link below.
Water thief served its purpose.